All praises due to the Most High, family. We back with another Acres anime review. I just finished watching episode 4 of season 4 of The Shield Hero. And I want to make sure I cover everything, so let's get right into it. The opening scene is a flashback, right? Because we've been messing with this dude JARALIS. And when we first got the Silk Belt, we had this bird dude who's like leading the group, and he kind of seemed shady. And then because we wasn't getting what we wanted from him, JARALIS was offering us help. And we was like, okay, JARALIS is he's wanting to provide exactly what we're looking for, but he kind of seems shady. And of course, if you've been following along, last episode, he just tried to poison all of us, right? So he's not hiding it no more. This dude shady as hell. So we open this episode with a flashback, as if this dude could get shadier. It's like a war scene. He's literally in the trenches with some of his men, right? And one of his men is asking, he's telling him, he's like, give the retreat order. We're about to lose. We got to get out of here. And JARALIS tell him, he's like, nah, we got to fight. We got to make a stand here. And after he convinces all of his men to stay and fight, he turn around talking about in his mental, he's like, as long as I live, that's really all that matter. Like the shadiest of all shadiness. But what happens at the end of this flashback is a character named Tyrion, right? Follow me, family. Tyrion is ATLA and FOHL's father. So Tyrion show up with reinforcements, and so he basically saves the day. And in a later flashback in the episode, basically all the men that JARALIS convinced to stay and fight, they viewed Tyrion as a hero, as a savior, because they did not think they was making it out alive, and he came and saved them, right? Okay, so this episode, for the most part, is this death match, right? Because last episode we found out JARALIS tried to poison us all, and ATLA was speaking up, and basically they challenged each other to a duel. But it's a 2-on-2 match, right? So JARALIS picked this ox-looking demi-human, and he's fighting the ox-looking demi-human is fighting ATLA, right? And they have an honorable duel. Like, ATLA is between her and FOHL, she's the more talented fighter, right? Even though she's blind. And so they have it out. They fight pretty much fair and square. Now it's a pretty intense fight, but ultimately ATLA wins. And this other dude, because he's a genuine warrior, he low-key has respect for ATLA for winning. And he made a comment like, oh yeah, that's Tyrion's bloodline right there. Like, because Tyrion is, these white tiger characters are very polarizing. You either mess with them or you don't at all, right? So he says something like, oh yeah, you definitely got your daddy's blood running through your veins, but on a warrior level, on a respectful level, he respected ATLA for winning. Now on the other side of the duel is FOHL, ATLA's older brother, and JARALIS. Now we just talked about the flashback, and he poisoned everybody. So what do you expect he finna fight like JARALIS? He pulling out all the tricks, family. He pulled out a smoke bomb. He got poison. Like poison weapons. And then he took something. Then he basically dosed himself to transform and get stronger. He pulling out all the tricks, right? So follow me. So Tyrion is FOHL's and ATLA's father, but then his dad was Tyrion. Tyrion is grandpa, Tyrion is dad, and then FOHL and ATLA are daughter and son. So Tyrion was like, he was up there with the king of Silkville, right? But he was basically like a warmonger. Like, he wanted to handle things with strength and violence. Whereas Tyrion disagreed with that. He wanted a more peaceful approach. So ultimately, Tyrion banished Tyrion. Okay, now this distinction does matter because we talking about FOHL this episode, really. So FOHL presents, he looks like, he reminds JARALIS of Tyrion. Right? Like, they look like twins. I mean, that's his daddy, right? So because JARALIS was so jealous of Tyrion all these years, he's low-key getting very mad that FOHL is putting up a fight against him. He's like, I'm looking at this MF again, right? And he gets to the point where we force him to confess that he's the one that took Tyrion's life. Now, of course, this upsets FOHL, right? That's his daddy. So we get some flashbacks. You know what? FOHL starts having some flashbacks of Tyrion. And Tyrion's telling FOHL, like, hey, when I leave, this is like him leaving for war. He's like, hey, when I'm gone, you got to protect your mom and your sister, right? And so this is pertinent in this moment because when JARALIS transforms, he low-key gets the upper hand on FOHL. And because ATLA's opponent is defeated, she's kind of just on standby waiting to help FOHL. But FOHL's like, nah, I got to do this for the fam, right? For our honor. For dad. But because JARALIS start getting the upper hand, you know, ATLA starts running to kind of help, but FOHL has his flash. He's like, nah, I can't get help. I'm the protector in this. Like, I need to be the protector. I need to stand up for everybody involved. And so remember, he looks like his dad, but then out of stress and necessity and being in a fight or flight moment, he transformed on his own. But now this transformation looks more like Tyrion. Tyrion just presented in the same way JARALIS looks more lion than human. Tyrion looked more white tiger than human. Now Tyrion and FOHL and ATLA, they look more human than white tiger. But when FOHL transformed, now he looked like grandpa. Now he looked like a full-blown white tiger. And so we didn't, now that's how the episode ended, was he transformed and he's like, I'm gonna do it for the gang, for real. And in this, I don't know if it was before or after the transformation, but JARALIS keep pulling out nasty tricks, bros. Like JARALIS transformed himself and then he roared like as a signal. And then we start seeing his buddies bust through the window coming into the duel. This is supposed to be on 2 or 2 on 2. He low-key called 10 homies as reinforcements. Right? And because he confessed to taking out Tyrion, and because we know he poisoned everybody, like he's out of this shady. So he's like all in, 10 toes down. He can't back away now. Like he's like invested in he's got to win or else it's all over for him, right? So and then now for me at one point during the fight, he's like, hey bro, he's like pulling out dirty tricks. Is this legal? And one of the elders told now for me, he's like, well, really the only rule is the last one standing is the winner. So everything else is fair game. So I mean, to me, that means that these reinforcements are even fair game. Like whoever's winning, whoever's left alive is the winner. So I'm hoping that the next episode is the conclusion. If we win, then we get to move on to Q10 low because they agreed, hey, the winner has their wishes met. So if FOHL wins, we're going to Q10 low, right? Because we came here. That's the whole purpose of us coming to Silkville. Now, the last thing I want to say about this episode was, like I think I mentioned earlier, ATLA is the more talented sibling. FOHL's been struggling to keep up with her. And so this is definitely a coming out party for him. Like he's right, this is rite of passage. Like he's doing it for his dad. He's showing that he has his own talents to bring to the table on comparison as a sister. So it's very cool. I mess with FOHL a little bit more after this episode for sure. Peace and love.